Well, and that was the reason I didn't want to take advertising, is I thought, to really do this right, I want to be, I don't want to be in the position of owing an advertiser anything. In mainstream media, of course, it's advertising supported. You have an ad department, you have an editorial department, and there's a Chinese wall between them. The ad people are not, in theory, allowed to talk to editorial. Editorial is not influenced by advertising. This is a little different. I'm doing it all, right? So I had some real concerns about that, but that's one of the reasons we're very picky about advertisers. And I think we make it very clear, this is an ad, this isn't influencing our editorial. Yeah. It's really important. We do not ever, ever, ever take money for anything but an ad. I mean, there's never, oh, would you cover our topic, would you cover our product or anything like that? We'll give you some money. We never do that. In fact, I'm really at the point, and I'm very grateful to it, that I don't even accept many products for review. I almost always buy the products that we review, because I don't want to deal with that quid pro quo feeling,
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to be, as much as I can afford to be, kind of above any influence.
Yeah.
Advertising's tough. I mean, I would like to not take advertising, but I think it's pretty clear now that you can't, the subscription model's not going to work. The donation model is probably inadequate to support us, so we have to take advertising.
Yeah. On your show, you don't do too many interviews, do you?
No, I really stay away from vendor interviews. I don't like them because they turn out to be ads. So generally speaking, on all of our shows, the hosts are all journalists. I really want to stick with that. We don't even have marketing types. I feel bad. Some really A-list marketing people have said, "Can I be on Twit?" And I hope I haven't been brusque, but I've had to say, we don't really let marketing people on. You have to be a journalist. And I also we've tried to avoid. There are journalists I know.
Well, you have Calacanis on your show, though.
Isn't he a journalist? Well, he's marketing himself. I don't know, what is Calacanis?
He's the world's best marketer.
But he's marketing himself. We're all marketing ourselves. I mean, look at Dvorak.
If you were starting a show today, or you wanted to get into doing media, what would you do? You started out as running a radio station.
That's a great question. I don't know what I would do if I were starting out today. Yeah, I'd probably do podcasting. I'd probably do, well, what I tell people, and I think I would do this, is do all three. Do blogging, do video, do audio, and then maybe add as a fourth, social media like Twitter and stuff. You need to do all of that. You need to be a quadruple threat if you really want to start out today.
See, Rocky, we got to do an audio show.
Audio's, I'll tell you what,
4, that's okay.
I like audio, and the reason audio is very portable, very small, very easy to listen to in the car. I always really poo-pooed video because I thought it requires too much attention, too much screen time, and there's a lot of competition for screen time. So, but I'm being won over by video. We'll probably start doing downloadable video because it does really, people want it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they say they want it and not really. Every time we've done video versions of our audio shows, they haven't done all that well.
Yeah.
Audio really, I mean, even this, audio really is easy.
This is mostly audio, right?
Well, that's right. Why do video? It's just talking heads.
There's something about seeing you.
I think people want to. People want to. Yeah, they want to smell your breath. I don't know. I've never understood that.
So tell me a little bit about your studio and maybe because I know there's lots of companies out there who are thinking of doing media like this to talk to their employees. Like Rackspace has a radio station just for their employees, right? So tell me a little bit about what goes into making a decent studio for doing video and audio.
Well,
it's certainly it looks expensive, but
it is.
But
compared to a real studio, it's nothing.
Compared to Tech TV, I mean, that was a multi-million. How many millions?
We had one set that was $1 million.
Yeah.
The screensaver set was only $50,000. 50 is about what I put into this, including cameras, lights, equipment, and 50 is very cheap. To do an effective television set. In fact, we recently had a network come to us and say, we're talking about rebroadcasting the show on this network, and I said, well, great. I guess we should get some good cameras. And they said, no, we love it. This is it would have cost us $1 million to build this set. So you don't have to spend a lot of money. I would say start with audio. I used to work for HP many years ago, making cassettes that the sales staff would listen to in the car. They all have their Saturns, and they'd pop in the cassette, and it would be the Carly Fiorina or whoever. Actually, it was Lou Gerstner. It was pre-Carly Fiorina. And then they'd have the sales manager on, and they'd tell them what the initiative was. And they'd have me on because I was the tech guy. I could interview the tech people and say, well, what does PA Risk do? It's so great. And then put it in terms a salesperson can understand. Those are really valuable ways to communicate. So corporations absolutely should be doing that. And then if you've got audio down, maybe video. Although I remember HP, Apple, SAS, all these companies that built massive video facilities.
Yeah.
And they're gone. The first TV show I did for Ziff Davis, we were in the old Apple TV facility. This is a beautiful facility Apple built and never used. I think because it was too expensive, too time consuming.
Well, at Microsoft, I put half of their studio out of business.
That's right.
Walking around with a
Channel 9.
with a $250 video camera.
It's not about the production. It's not about the production values. It's about the content. That's all that matters. And in some ways, if it's a more authentic, lower budget production, that's better because it's more authentic. It's more real. It's I can identify with it better than some guy with blow-dried hair sitting in the studio saying, "Let me tell you about Microsoft's newest initiative." I mean, nobody wants that. That's awful. We're all getting away from that. I look at local television news and wonder how many years that's got left. Horrible.
It's getting worse and worse
It's
because
terrible.
they're really getting squeezed now.
Well, and rightly so.
Yeah.
And it's just it succeeds still because of momentum alone. Yeah. It's like a train that's lost its engine, but it's still rolling, and it's not much longer because this stuff is terrible. Yeah. And when my kids grow up, they've never seen local news. They would look at it and they would laugh. Patrick, you ever watch local news? No.
I've seen
He says, I've seen it. I've seen it. No, it's terrible. For one thing, nobody really knows the actual audience sizes of traditional media. It's carefully hidden. We have on Twit 500,000 unique listeners a month. That puts us in there with some pretty big mainstream media outlets. Certainly any local radio station.
Yeah. And I've been on. When I wrote my book, I was on 60 radio stations around the United States. Nobody ever commented or wrote me email. If I'm on your show, I get hundreds of comments.
Well, and that's not purely audience size. Our audience is engaged. And from an advertising point of view, that's really critical. Advertisers are taking a while to get used to this new media idea because it's so out of control, so different, so fragmented. They just don't know how to buy it. But ultimately, they're going to come here because our audiences are engaged. When my advertisers are here and they're not leaving because they get results. Yeah. It's very, very effective because our audience is paying attention. Most mainstream media audiences, they're snoozing. Yeah. They're not paying attention. That's why I stopped doing Regis and Kelly. Not one, listener, nothing. Yeah. Nothing from it.
The only thing that competes with you is the BBC.
Well, hey, I listen to NPR like crazy. I mean, there are mainstream outlets that do very well. In fact, I probably listen to more NPR podcasts than I do independent podcasts. That's fine. Yeah. Those guys really know what they're doing. They know about content. They know about production. They do a very good job.
Is it possible for an independent person to come out of nowhere and still get to the top of iTunes podcast list?
Well, probably not iTunes podcast list, but that's not a good measure. I mean, it's so heavily weighted towards number of subscriptions in a given day, and a mainstream media outlet can really pump something like that better than an independent guy can do. However, don't be fooled. Just because you're on number one on iTunes doesn't mean you're the most listened to podcast. It means merely that you had the most subscriptions that day and week. So the most listened to podcasts, and Twit's one of them, I know for a fact, aren't necessarily even in the top 100. That only reflects what happened today and this week. It doesn't reflect overall total number of subscribers. Apple doesn't even know that number. That number is not available to them. So you can be misled by that. But I understand the gist of your question, which is, can you come out of nowhere and be a success? Yes. But it's going to take some time. What's happening now is this monopoly has been broken, but it hasn't fallen apart yet. Everybody now can create media. I think ultimately, in the long run, the future for mainstream media is not as a content creator or distributor, but merely as an aggregator. In that environment, if you're good and you do a great job and you add real value and your content's great, you will immediately rise to the top. Look at YouTube. If you create a great video, millions of views. So in an aggregator environment, the cream does rise. It doesn't rise now because that monopoly's not fully cracked. But you're starting to see this in music, by the way, and you're going to see this. In the next 5 years, there will be platinum artists with no record labels. That's when you know, the change has happened. And I think you're going to see that in all mainstream media. It's just that the monopoly hasn't been fully cracked yet.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a record label to be a platinum artist. You need a community. You need an audience. How do you get an audience? We know better than anybody how to get an audience. Word of mouth, build a community, get your community to spread the word for you, and create great content. That's all you have to do.
Yeah. Be on top, do something interesting.
Yeah.
How is that going to change the world of making products? Because you care about gadgets. I know every time I get together with you off
That's
camera.
all we talk about.
Oh yeah. How's your new 5D, by the way? Okay,
Love my Mark II, baby.
Well, tell me what kinds of gadgets you care about right now.
Well, it's funny. I got the first iPhone. I waited in line like everybody else for hours to get an iPhone, and I abandoned it after a few months for the BlackBerry because I wanted applications. But when the 3G came out and the application store came out, that transformed it. This is a transformative gadget. So as trite and trivial as it seems to say, this is really, really important. Still, right now, probably my favorite gadget. I love my camera, my Mark II 5D, but I think digital cameras in general are huge breakthroughs. They're very, very
Tell me what's cool about that.
So there's a battle between Nikon and Canon, really. I mean, these are the two heavyweights in the digital SLR, the top-of-the-line commercial cameras. Nikon stole a march. Canon had the initial lead with the 5D because it was a full-frame sensor. In other words, a 35 millimeter, roughly 35 millimeter size pickup. Bigger sensor means a lot of things. It means much better quality, much better light sensitivity. It really gives you better images. The 5D was the first affordable camera to do that. Affordable, I mean by
$3,000.
Yeah, under 20 grand. But then along comes Nikon with the D3.
Yeah. I used that at Davos last year.
Amazing. And it's their first full frame, so everybody gets excited about that, with incredible low light. Sony made the chip, incredible low light. By the way, Sony's using that own chip in their own cameras and doing some amazing stuff, but it's still it's funny, it's still Nikon and Canon, I guess because of the lenses. So, and they introduced the D90, which shoots 720p video. Yeah. But it has some technical issues. It's got this kind of rubber banding thing that it does when you move the camera or something's moving. That's something CMOS, kind of happens with CMOS chips. Along come, the seesaw battle has gone the other way because now Canon says, all right, we're going to do the Mark II. We're going to do a 21 megapixel full frame sensor. We're going to get good low light, very low noise, low light. It's not still as good as the Nikon, but it's really close.
Yeah,
I've been
probably
shooting
one
stuff,
stop away.
Yeah, I've been shooting stuff at 3200 ISO, which is really turning the sensitivity up, and you don't see a lot of grain. It really looks good. So I don't like to shoot with lights at all. I hate flash. I'm not a strobist. Someday I'll learn that, but I don't know how to do that. I like to shoot natural light, and it's a great camera for that. There are still things that the Nikon does better fast focusing, more frames per second and so forth. But the thing that really knocks people out on the Mark II, and I think rightly so, is this 1080p video. Yeah. Stunning video. And now, look, I've invested in Canon lenses, these very expensive lenses. Now I can shoot video with a 7200 f2 or with a 16 to 35 f2.8 or my prize baby, my 50 millimeter 1.2. These are movie camera quality lenses, and I'm shooting 1080p video. This is a breakthrough.
Yeah. Is this the year that HD really takes off? And let me tell you where I've been coming. For the last 2 years, 3 years, I've been going to CES and seeing all these beautiful screens, 60, 70, 80, up to 150 inch now. But they were fairly expensive. When I bought my HD screen, it was $4,000. Now we're buying my dad one for his birthday.
It's amazing.
You can get a decent screen for $400, $500 now.
Well, the digital TV, conversion in February is going to obviously push that finally all the way. It's the FCC's been motivating that for the last 5 years. Here's an interesting thing. First of all, I don't think 90% of consumers. I know 90% of consumers don't know from HD. They think, and this is why Blu-ray doesn't sell. They think DVD looks great. They think it is HD. They think, we do 16:9 video. It's not HD. It's flash on our live stream. But the reason we do 16:9 is because people think it's high def. They think, oh, widescreen, that's high def. They don't know. I don't think I think there is a place for high def. I love my Blu-ray on my big screen, and I think certainly people are increasingly going to get that. There's a place for the movie theater. There's also a place for YouTube quality video, for flip Mino video, for streaming flash video.
Well, even the flip cam now for $220, you can get a 720p flip.
Yeah,
and it's fairly good. It's not as good as $6,000 cameras, but who cares?
It's okay.
Right?
I don't think it matters. I think that it's content that matters. Yeah. And I think if you want to see a blockbuster motion picture, you're going to want to see it on a big screen, whether it's in your home or in the movie theater. And I think if you want to see, if you want to see what somebody get kicked in the groin, it's probably okay to have 320 by 240 video on a flash stream on YouTube. That's okay. Although I have to say, I'm glad YouTube's finally doing high quality video. That's made a big difference.
Well, I'm watching the clock, and I know you have a show starting in about 4 minutes.
You're on that show, so you better get ready. You've been reading all the news?
No.
Uh-oh. You haven't prepared,
I'm
huh?
going to get back on Twitter.
You better get going here. You better Twitter your friends, have them help you.
Any
What's
last
the big
thoughts
story?
of what are your top 3 or 4 shows? Where can we find you? What's
Best
hot
place
on
to
you?
go to find me, the podcast, the audio podcast, are twit.tv. If you want to watch them made live, it's like a little like watching sausage be made, live.twit.tv. We have our own Twitter, you know. You should join us, army.twit.tv.
Yeah.
We've got an audio stream.
That's all I need is another addiction. In fact, somebody showed me what I was going to tell you was there's another addiction coming, and it's oh my god.
Oh yeah? Is it a
I'll
web-based, real-time web kind of a thing?
I'll tell you after the camera's off.
Oh, he's got a secret.
Follow @God on Twitter.
Okay.
And God will be handing out beta invites.
Well, I'm doing it right now. I'm not going to miss that one. That's exciting. So, yeah, I mean, leoville.com is my blog, and that's where, you have links to everything. I have far too many web pages. You have too many social media presences. I have too many web pages.
Very
Too many places.
Well, we got 3
Thank you,
minutes to
Robert.
go, so thanks, man.
Thanks a lot. I
It's
appreciate it.
been a really blast.
It's good to talk to you. Now, see, the real key is how long this hour interview ends up at fastcompany.tv.
Yeah.
If I did good, it'll be 30 minutes. If I wasn't very
If you
interesting,
did
it'll be
good,
3 minutes, right?
If you did good, it'll be 55 minutes.
I can tell
Rocky will
how
be-
much Rocky cuts out is how well I'm